fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Kamen Rider Gotchard 2 Gold Mechanica and LightningJungle from the Souchaku Henshin line for Kamen Rider Gotchard. Now it's a bit of a mouthful, but basically they have relaunched the Souchaku Henshin line. That's why Shin is in a different color, because Shin means new. Haha, fun pun. Anyway, so we saw the first set previously, which had Steam Hopper and I think Ant Wrestler and Abure Skebo. And now they have skipped so many forms in between and jumped right to this 2-pack of Gold Dash and Mechanicani, forming Gold Mechanica. And then Raidenji and I think Jungle Jan, and they become LightningJungle. So these are the two forms. They both use kind of a bulkier frame, which is why I think they packed these two together. But also, you know, you get Gold Dash in here, so it's also the bike for Gotchard. So it's kind of a combo in multiple regards. But yeah, pretty cool packaging here. You can see the two forms on the front, actual product shots, and then you have the like artwork of the show suits over here in the upper corner. Over here, again, more artwork of the suits. Down here, just your warnings and whatnot. Over here, giving you the full breakdown of the box. So you have the larger frame that I talked about, 2 extra sets of hands. You have this little crab piece, which goes with Gold Dash. So I guess that's Mechanicani? Yeah. So, I'm just reading it here, Mechanicani. So that's Mechanicani, that's Gold Dash. They go together. And then you just have like the weird frame piece for the armor of LightningJungle. They didn't do 2 different chemis for that one. And then you also get the Gotchard Tornado. So there you go. Get that as well, which can, of course, be used with the figure from the first set or this set. Either one will work. Over here on the back, just kind of some cool toy photography with the toy. I think it's the actual toy there, so that's kind of cool. I will not be able to replicate that. In any case, let's go ahead and get everything out of the box here, and we'll take a closer look. So here's everything that is included in the box. We'll take a look at this stuff over here real quick, and then I can kind of move it over to the side. So we have the Gotchard Tornado. It is completely molded in black plastic. There is no paint on it whatsoever, unfortunately. But if you wanted to customize it yourself, all the detail is there. It's nicely molded. Little flimsy at the very ends. I'm assuming that's for kind of a safety reasons thing, because it's, you know, kind of pointy, but there is that accessory, so we'll put that off to the side. You get 3 sets of hands, so I believe it comes with the 2 closed fists attached when you first take it out of the box, but I've elected to take those out, and I've given him one of each of like the grasping hands, and then also just kind of like a stylized kind of posing hand. So I've given him one of each there. But it's 3 sets of hands total, which is nice. And then you have the little scarf piece, which if you want, you can go ahead and peg onto the back here. Now, you can't always leave it there. I think for Gold Mechanica, you're going to plug something into this spot here right below, and it's going to get in the way. So I think you can also... Is that... No, that's... Never mind. I was thinking maybe these were spots here, but I'm realizing now that those are just pins. So that is the only place that you can peg it in, and you can really only use it for LightningJungle. So we'll put that off to the side. The figure itself is alright. The head seems kind of tiny, but once you put a helmet on it, it fits in much better. So it does look a little small on its own, but you have some nice orange paint there for the eyes. You have some paint for the belt. Unfortunately, it does not go all the way around. Same with this paint here on the forearm. That stops at the halfway point, which is kind of a bummer. Same here for the silver paint on the shin. For the most part, it's not going to be that big a deal because you're going to have armor on it, so you're not really going to see it. But it would be nice to get that extra paint. At least this silver paint went all the way because the chest paint didn't even make it onto the back. Although I guess, does it need to? I don't know. I guess technically this whole section should be silver, but again, you're gonna be plugging stuff in. It's not that big a deal. Head can go up and down like that. And then at the base of the neck, it'll actually spin side to side. Looks a little weird, granted, but there you go. You have a shoulder hinge here. You can actually kind of pull this out a little bit if you need some more room, which is kind of nice. So you get pretty good range of motion there. You can also spin front to back, of course. Bicep swivel. Now, the problem is the way this is done, like if you turn it to the side so that you can use the elbow, you know, it looks a little weird because of the way it's cut. And also, like, all of the connections with the armor use this on the side. And even though there is a port here, it doesn't seem to really want to connect there. I tried that one and they didn't really want to go in there, but they fit nice and fine on this one. So you kind of have to, like, have this weird kind of side elbow articulation once the armor's connected. Until then, you could do this, and then you can just, the hands are on a ball joint because the way you connect them, it's just a little ball joint you pop in, so you can swivel them no problem. But again, you're probably not going to be using this body on its own because he never looks like this. Got a waist swivel, kick pretty far forward. Again, it's kind of, you know, a little pulled away from the body, so you can get nice range of motion there out to the side. Go back a little bit. He does have a butt flap, but it's also kind of a ball joint, so you can kind of move it a little bit like that. You do have a thigh swivel, though, and you get maybe slightly over 90 in the knees, and then you have a ball joint here for the ankle, so you get front to back, side to side. So honestly, the articulation is pretty good. And I don't know why, but I kind of just like this form on its own. It just looks like a bruiser kind of character. Like, I don't know, it'll also give me kind of like a Mega Man vibe or something. I know the colors aren't there, but I just mean, it seems like this could be like a villain or something in a Mega Man cartoon or a game or something. I don't know. But anyway, I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. We'll put the figure off to the side for the moment. So this stuff is kind of a mess. As armor, it's fine. And as the bike, it's fine. But, like, so they gave us the little Mechanicani, and the directions are not great. The directions say, take this helmet piece and put it here. Okay. Like, it doesn't peg in any way. It doesn't snap in or stay in or literally do anything. It just rests on there, which isn't great because you move it around, it falls right off. So here's the little crab piece that is going to be basically become the whole chest and front section of the armor for Gold Mechanica. But I don't know what, it just says sit that there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, great. Because that just riddles, rocks around. So that's a bit of a bummer. I mean, this is, you know, one piece and it does transform. We'll get into that later. But I don't know. I just thought that was kind of stupid to not have that peg in any way. Speaking of not really pegging in any way, you have this thing here. So this is not how this is supposed to connect. There's these little pegs here, and they're somehow supposed to peg into this area. But it's not really clear. Like, is it supposed to go in here? Is it supposed to go back here? Is it supposed to go in here? And none of them really work. For a second, I had it pegged in like this. And then it kind of exploded itself. I think that's technically how it's supposed to look. But after a second, like, the pressure on that made, I think, these sections popped out and the whole thing, yeah, it just did something like that. Like, you can see how easily it just all falls apart. So I don't care for that. The whole building this up into a weird totem pole thing, I don't care about that. As armor, it snaps onto the figure nicely, and we'll get into that in a moment. But it's just weird. It's weird how they do these things, and I guess they plan the armor first, and that's successful, and then they have to kind of re-engineer how to figure out how to make it do this. I'll be honest, I'd rather you prioritize the armor, because that's what I'm excited about. I don't really care about this weird thing, but I mean, you look at it wrong, and it just all falls apart. So I'm just going to put this all together off to the side, and we'll deal with that later. And honestly, I'm going to put this off to the side for the moment as well. So when you're using them as like the chemis or whatever those weird, like I said, and I'm glad they've kind of gotten away from it on the show where, you know, he transforms and it makes like the steam hopper ultra chemi thing, like the weird CGI, and then that comes apart and becomes the armor. I mean, the chemis themselves on the show, the individual chemis I like, but when they do the weird CGI fusion chemis before it becomes the armor, I don't need any of that. And that's what this is, and it just doesn't work. I don't know. I don't need it. It's weird. Let's look at Gold Dash, because Gold Dash is actually pretty cool. So it is a chemi, but it's also his bike for the season. And the thing here is pretty good. It has a little kickstand. Pop that up. Integrates into the bike really well. Just flip that down. Stands pretty well. You do have to do a few stickers. I didn't mention that. But there's this big gold is one big clear sticker that you just pop on. Same for dash over here. And then you have, just like with the first set, the 2 drivers. So where was the driver? I think the driver was here. Yeah, so this is a sticker. This is just one sticker. There's a driver. I think it's on the butt of the crab. Yeah, there you go. There's the other one. And then for both of them, they have a section where it opens up and there's the little fire inside. So that's a sticker as well. So I think it's like 6 stickers all told. It's really not too bad. I don't like doing stickers, but for something like this, they go on flat surfaces. They're very simple. You pop it on. It really wasn't too bad, but I wanted to point that out since it's very prominent here on Gold Dash. This is paint. Nice blue metallic paint there for the eyes. The black's all paint. The wheels are trying to pop off on me. But you can actually, like, this will swing down and you can utilize the claws if you want in this mode. Just like on the show and on the card artwork. So I think that's kind of cool. That will move around. And I think it's interesting, at least how the directions have it, you don't really use those claws for the armor mode, which is interesting, but we'll get there. So he can ride the bike. Now, the directions, or I should say the box, shows you having the figure from the first set ride the bike, but, I mean, he can kind of ride it. He looks a little out of place. I will admit he looks large on the bike, but you can still sit him on here. It works. If we bring in the figure from the first set, which I have in the Ant Wrestler armor, you can see he fits a little bit better. That's more in scale. Looks good. Riding the bike. I like it. I think that's kind of cool. So happy to get the bike for him for this season. So let's go ahead. I mean, I guess I should show. It does roll perfectly fine. You do have to pop the wheels out for the transformation, and sometimes they don't always click back in. But for the most part, I mean, it's staying pretty solid. It's not going to fall out. Will it stand up? There we go. So I think the bike looks pretty good. Honestly, the bike to me is the strongest part of the set when it's not armor. Aside from the figure. The figure's pretty good. But I mean, when you're not using this as armor, this is kind of a mess. When you're not using this as armor, this is kind of a mess. When you're not using the bike as armor, it's good. Like, the bike is solid. I think it looks good. The figures fit on it reasonably well. Obviously, the first figure, which is more, you know, the normal proportions, fits on it better. But this one still kind of fits on it, and it looks cool. And it's really no problem there. So, let's go ahead. Let's get into our first armor. Should I do the... Trying to think. There's also like a weird, like, so the way that this totem pole thing was the like combined chemi form, there is a combined chemi form for this. It's kind of just a giant crab monster. I guess I'll show you that. We'll do that first. Let's get that out of the way. This one's a little bit more successful than the like totem pole thing for LightningJungle, but not by much. I'm going to just take this helmet and just put it off to the side because they tell you to leave it there for this whole thing and it doesn't work. It's not going to stay there. It's just kind of a mess. So we'll put him here. You're basically going to take this, flip the kickstand up. You have to unpeg the wheel sections and they slide out pretty easily. Then you're going to take this and kind of move this out of the way. And then this is going to split open here. And then also you can see these 2 hinges here. So this is going to split here as well, like that. You are going to take these and move them all the way forward. This black piece here is going to swivel, and then you can see that there's a larger section here so that you can actually turn it down like that. And then it wants you to put this, I think like this. And then you can see how there's these 2 little indentations there. They want you to peg in the wheel pieces like that and like this. And part of his claw has fallen off, but that's okay. They peg in really simply. You can see it's just a tab and a tab slot right here. And I don't know why, like, just moving them around seems to make them want to pop out. But they pop right back in. So this is it. You just kind of make like a weird crab thing with this. And then you take this, and you're supposed to peg this on top. I think you open this, yeah, you open this up. You can see that there's two little tab, like peg spots right there and there. And there's these pegs on the handlebars. So you kind of, and it's like a softer plastic, so you should have no trouble pegging it in. And it actually stays pretty securely, which I was surprised about. Because sometimes with softer plastic, doesn't always want to like peg in and stay. But this actually does. Now again, you're supposed to put this here, but it's just going to bounce around. I mean, alright, fine, it stayed for a second, but... So this is like the combined chemi monster form. It's just kind of like a big crab monster thing. It's okay. At least it kind of looks like something. You know, you have eyes here, you have the claws, you have the legs over here. Again, doesn't really do much for me. I think if it's not in the armor form, I'd rather just leave it in the bike form. But this is an option. So, I mean, I guess you could kind of have it turn into this and maybe start fighting a monster or something while he's doing something else. But I think this is cooler than just stacking everything else vertically for LightningJungle. But it's still kind of a mess. So if we're going from this to the armor, we're going to take this off. We're going to unpeg these. And we're going to take these off as well. So basically we're going to take these and kind of put them at like a 45-degree angle. Something like that. And then you can kind of just bring these down like this. And the thing that's weird is the box definitely shows these coming down further. But the way the ball joint, so this is on a tiny ball joint right here, as you can see. And it just automatically, it hits into this. Now I was trying to like, do I want to spin this around? I guess I could try to get it down a little bit further. If I kind of use the ball joint to bring it down like that. It's not amazing, but it's a little better. Oh, you know what? Let me angle this up. So you're actually going to flip. Let me remember how to do this. I think I'm going to move this back up just so it's out of the way temporarily. Because you're going to kind of just tuck this all back up here. Like I think, like this is how it would normally be in the bike mode. And I think really all you do is kind of go like that. But there's some weird clearance issues because you have to bring this back down. There we go. So I think it's kind of just like that. You just kind of make this gigantic backpack. And then you're going to take this section and flip it down. And I know that looks weird, but you kind of need it as like a back support so he doesn't fall over because he's becoming so ridiculously top heavy at this point. So let me bring the figure back in here. And then you're going to... Do I have to put this down further? I might put this back down. This peg here is going to peg into the back. And that's what I was talking about earlier where I said it's hard to have the scarf still on here. I mean, technically, you can see that the port for the scarf is still there. It hasn't been covered up. But you'd have to do something weird where like the scarf stuck straight out to the right or something weird like that. So kind of just letting that one go. Then we're going to take the crab piece. And if you had it still closed up like this, you would literally just unfold it all the way out like this. And then there are two pegs. So there's a peg here. And there's a peg here, and they are going to peg in to these two. And honestly, it's nice that they did two, because if you're looking at this, it kind of has a tendency for this piece to want to like go back, as you can see. But having those two pegs really kind of keeps it in place, which I appreciate. So we need to make sure we line this up and get both of these pegged in here. That's the first one, and I believe that's the second one. And then you just take the helmet and pull this little section down, drop this on top. At this point you're basically done, but you're going to take your two giant wheel pieces and these large rectangular tabs will tab into the sides. Now I have to put the arms back because I can't unfortunately utilize the elbow joint. So this is going to tab in there. And then rotate this back, and I'll rotate the hand, and then this is going to tab in here. I don't think it really matters which direction you have them face, but there you go. So there is gold Mechanica. That's what's gold Mechanica. So it's okay. it's really just 90% a giant backpack with this one skirt piece here on the front, and then you attach the wheels to the arms. It's okay. Like I said, because at first I was like, oh, I don't really like this hanging down. I'm gonna pop this back up here, which technically you could do. But he really needs that tripod to stay up because he's got such a backpack. But, you know, if you wanted to try to do something with a nice pose, you know, temporarily you could store it up there if you don't want that there. But if you're going to put it on a shelf or something, I would definitely pop that down because it does need that to kind of stand up. At this point, you know, the head articulation should still be there. You can look from side to side, move up and down, no problem. Arms pretty unobstructed. I mean, obviously you're going to hit into this, but you still have the shoulder, the bicep, all that stuff. Nothing's in the way there. The skirt thing down here does get a little bit in the way of the leg. So you can't really move the hip all that much. You're kind of just standing there, I think, just because he's got so much backpack. But I guess he's supposed to be mostly like artillery, so he's firing, you know, the two arm things, this. So he's just kind of staying in one spot and firing a lot of lasers all at once. But yeah, there's the form. It's not terrible. Like I said, you can kind of try to move these up a little bit if you want. I kind of just keep them there just to be out of the way, but you can play with them a little bit. Yeah, it's mostly just this thing being a shoulder cannon and then these arm cannons. It's alright. Okay, so moving on to LightningJungle. I really don't like the look of this, but I do really like the armor. I think that actually looks pretty cool. So we're going to go ahead and start taking this apart. This is going to unpeg like this. Now these pieces technically are separate. I don't really know why. I don't know what purpose that serves, because they are going to stay in there the whole time, and they are just going to peg onto the bottom of the feet. So you can see that they have these two like Lego connectors here, and they have two spots on the bottom. So you just go ahead and pop that on there, and that will peg in. Now, it doesn't really connect to the leg at all, and I'm assuming that's because they didn't want to limit the ankle articulation, but I almost kind of wish it connected somehow, but again, I don't really know how they would do it without limiting the ankle articulation, so we'll see how it goes. But just going to go ahead and peg those in there like that. It's not too bad, honestly. It holds on fairly well. So we have that connected like so. Then we're going to just start taking this thing apart. Shouldn't have to try too hard. If you pretty much just pick it up, it'll start popping apart. But anyway, the helmet comes off of here. The driver pops off the front. This splits apart. These pieces are shoulder pads. They're going to come off. And then you have the torso section here. So this is going to peg onto the chest very simply. The driver is going to peg into the waist where you would expect it to. These pieces, one of them has the card holder, so that should be the left arm. And so this peg right here is going to peg into this spot here on the arm, and that will peg on there quite simply. And then this one will peg over here, like that. Then you're going to take the shoulder pads, and you can see that they have these big kind of rectangular pieces in here. And they're going to slide on into these spots here on the shoulder. Now, this can be a little difficult, but once they're in there, they snap on pretty good. You can hear the snap. Sometimes it's just hard to grab a hold of the figure to get it to pop in, because the shoulders like to move around a lot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're going to finish off here by popping the helmet on the head, and then spin around to the back, and we'll go ahead and plug in the scarf piece that they gave us. And that pops right in there. And there you go. And I like the look. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to open up. I don't know if I did that on the other one, but you have to open up the middle piece there. I kind of like this one. I like this one because it's just armor snapping on the body. And so he doesn't really lose any of the articulation. He looks just like an armored person. He doesn't look like a giant mess. He doesn't have a giant backpack. It's cool armor. I like this a lot. Now, if you want, you can still kind of utilize the elbow. It's just that the armor will kind of be on the under part of the arm. So you just kind of have to be okay with that. But you can change the fists around if you want. But yeah, it's kind of cool. I like it. I like the color scheme. I like the paint applications for the lightning bolts and on the head and everything like that. You have these kind of, I guess, tendrils that he's supposed to throw out at people. Yeah, overall, I think this one is simplistic. I think it works. I think it looks good. I like all the design and everything. You don't really lose out on any of the articulation, even with the shoulders, because you can kind of pull them out a little bit. You can still get a decent range of motion with the shoulder, but even with those giant shoulder pads. That's kind of cool. Yeah, this is just kind of simplistic armor, and I like it. The gold Mechanica, just the giant backpack makes it so you can't really do anything. But here, I mean, you could still try to pull off some dynamic poses. You could give him the... hold on, I think he'll still be able to hold this. The Gotchard Tornado. Yeah, you could still have him use that. He can hold on to it. So I think that's cool. I like it. I like this one a lot more. This is definitely my favorite of the two. It's very simple to snap the armor pieces on. Not complicated at all. The totem pole thing doesn't hold together but this works and it stays on. I mean, it's not flimsy. It's not going to fall off. It's a pretty solid armor connection, and I think this is a really cool form. Overall, I think this set is okay. I kind of liked the first set, but some of the armor pieces kind of had similar problems where the kind of combined chemi form, when it's just kind of, they're coming up with a way for you to store the armor when it's not on the figure, and that doesn't hold together well. It was kind of the same for the first set. Parts of it are kind of same here for this set, but the armor connections are strong and the forms look good. So it really just depends what you're hoping to get out of this line. If you just want some cool armor, figures, I think that part of it is fun. If you're really looking for the chemi aspect of it, or especially the combined chemi aspect of it, I think that's where it suffers the most. So for this set, to me, I'm going to leave this figure like this on my shelf because I think this looks really cool. I'm going to put my first figure on the bike, Gold Dash, and then I'll put this little crab dude somewhere. And that's how I'll probably display it, because I think that's kind of the strongest forms of the set. I think the bike is good, can be used with the first figure. I think this form looks really cool, and then I just don't really need this crab piece, but I have it and it's here. So again, do I hate the gold Mechanica form? No, I definitely think this is the cooler of the two forms, so that's how I'm going to display it. But it's okay. I mean, the weird, crab monster thing by combining these two is okay. The totem pole thing for this armor, I think, is terrible. But like I said, the first set was kind of the same way. Ant Wrestler had kind of the two bugs, and that was kind of more successful. The weird totem pole thing for Abre Scabos was terrible. It didn't hold together well at all, and I didn't like it. I don't really like the steam hopper weird giant bug thing either. So I'm not a huge fan of when they kind of take the armor and try to build something out of it. I don't need that, but again, I don't have to utilize that if I don't want to. I can just have a pile of armor somewhere, put it on the figure when I want to, and it looks good. And to me, that's the most important part of the line. If the armor didn't connect very well, I would be most upset with that, because we saw that back with the 01 figure line when I got that box that had all the different, I think it was shark and tiger, and there were a bunch of them all in a box together, and they did not connect to the figure or stay connected at all, and that was terrible. I can't forgive that. If you're an armor line, you need to be able to connect and stay connected to the figure, and this line does accomplish that well. When it's connected to the figure, there's solid connections, it's not going to fall off, it stays on there, and it looks cool. It's just trying to take the armor pieces and make something out of them. That doesn't really work, in my opinion. But I don't need it to. To me, that's a secondary bonus thing, and I don't care about that. They have focused on what's important, and that aspect of the line works. So if you're okay with just that, I'm kind of okay with just that, then I think it's a fun line. I think the armor forms look cool, but trying to build stuff out of the armor pieces doesn't hold together at all. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think this is cool? Have you kind of backed off this line? It's only been 2 releases so far. I know we're not super deep into Gotchard, but I feel what are we, around 15, something like that? I mean, there's been tons of forms on the show, and they've only done 2 sets. So they must not be flying off the shelves. I think the 3rd set was announced, and that's X-Rex and UFO X. So again, another jump down the line. So all of those smaller in-between forms, we're probably not going to see. I don't even know if Soto is going to get to all of them. We'll have to wait and see. But it's a lot of forms because there's a lot of cards. So I get it to some degree, but it's kind of a bummer at the same time. So we'll see how the line continues. I kind of don't expect it to go forever. Historically, these lines don't do well. I mean, Revice line, I will say the Geats line did well, but it shifted to Premium Bandai almost immediately. And I really don't want them to do that, because if this line shifts to Premium Bandai, I don't think I'd continue it. The Geats line was a lot of fun, and I loved that show, and so I had all that going for it. And so I took the leap and continued it through Premium Bandai. I don't think this is as strong. So if they keep it retail, I'll probably keep picking them up. If not, then I think I'm done. But you take that for what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks so much for watching.